for your course now back in sessions.
May I invite Junior? Witness with the defendant.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Madonna, when we just took this break, you had gotten home from South Carolina.
Yes.
And you said you had come in and seen Jose in the garage.
Yes.
And you asked him to take a ride with you.
Right.
How long were you home at that point in time?
I was probably home about 10 minutes.
Okay. And you wore the same clothes that you wore down to South Carolina and you
I
guys
did.
took a ride?
Yep.
And where were you going?
Well, I needed to go to the dollar store, so I asked him to go to the dollar store with me. And from that point, I figured we'd have this conversation and I'd drop him off at his sponsor's house.
So you were planning on having the conversation about separating and leaving in the car on the way there?
Yes.
And did you stop anywhere before you got to a dollar store or Family Dollar or anything like that?
Yeah, we needed gas in the car, so I stopped at the Sheets, which is north of Wake Forest. I think it's in the Franklin County line already.
And about how far is that from your house, if you know?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Is it right off US 1?
Yeah, it's right on US 1.
And how far is it to get to US 1 from your home?
Not far, a couple minutes.
Okay. And you stopped at the Sheets, and what happened then?
Jose didn't have his wallet on him, so I went inside and paid for gas and got myself a soda and used the restroom and came out, and he had pumped the gas. And I told him I wanted to drive because he didn't have his license with him.
And how did you know he didn't have his license?
I had asked him if he had his wallet.
And when you said you came home, you said Jose was in the garage already. So
Yeah, Jose was in the garage.
Okay. And from the Sheets, had you guys started talking about, had you told Jose that you were going to be separating with him at that point or not?
I hadn't told him. I suspected that he might know, though, because I had told my father that I was asking him, and he had been home all day with my dad, so I had suspected maybe my father had said something. I had mentioned something about old-timers drinking on my Facebook, so I thought maybe he had gotten wind of it.
And when you say dollar store, do you perhaps mean a Family Dollar or?
Yeah, to me, any dollar store is the dollar store. Like, I just kind of lump them all together, the dollar store. So the one that we went to was north of that Sheets. So I believe that is a Family Dollar.
And what did you get from the Family Dollar?
I got nail polish because I was making some jewelry. And I got a candle lighter, like one of those long lighters for the candles.
And you said you got a soda from Sheets. What kind of soda did you get?
I got a big thing of Mountain Dew.
And does Jose go inside the store?
He came into the dollar store for a couple minutes, but since he didn't have his wallet, he didn't feel like looking around, so he went back out.
And how long were you in the Family Dollar?
Just about maybe 5 minutes. I don't know. I was looking around and just went and checked out, so.
And so you and Jose get back in the car, and who is driving?
I'm driving at this point.
And where are you going from there?
So we're just going to start driving. My plan is we're just going to drive around that area because he lived in Youngsville and that, before we got together. So it's sunny out and we start having the conversation and I start going into this rehearsed speech that I have about why I want a divorce.
And what did you tell him?
I told him that I knew he was drinking, I knew he was cheating, I was done with the lying, and this time I'm not backing down this time. I need to take you to Fred's and you need to go to rehab.
And what did he say to that?
He had started initially the way he usually reacts. Joe, I can't live without you. Joe, I love you. You're my whole world. I'll kill myself if you're not here. And I said, this is different. I need you to tell me where Fred lives. I'm taking you to Fred's.
Did you know where Fred lived at that point?
I knew Fred lived near us. I knew he lived near the intersection of 98, but I wasn't sure specifically where he lived.
And so guys are just driving in the country at this point, and you're talking to him about it?
Yeah, we're driving. We're heading towards, through Youngsville towards Rollsville, which I believe is 98, which is the main way that you get there. And we're talking, and he's getting more and more upset. He's getting more agitated.
And what does he say to you?
He started getting loud, and he starts looking like he's panicking, and he starts clutching his chest, saying, I'm going to have a heart attack, I'm going to have a heart attack, you need to pull over.
And what do you do when he says he's going to have a heart attack?
I pulled over into a parking lot on the right-hand side. There was like a church there on the right, and I pulled into the parking lot.
And what happened then?
I got out of the car on my side, and he got out of the car on his side, and I came around the back of the car to go over and help him with whatever he said he was going to throw up. And by the time I was coming around the back of the car, I heard a gunshot, and I looked up, and he was pointing the gun at me.
What did you do when you saw him pointing the gun at you?
I was in shock. I just stood there for a second, and then he turned the gun on himself, and he had it pointed at his, I'm not sure if he had it pointed under here or where he was pointing it, but he had it pointed at himself, and at that point, I believe he's going to kill himself.
And you said he had fired a shot at you before then?
He fired a shot at me, yep.
And what did you do then when you saw him pointing the gun at himself?
I lunged forward to grab his hand and to pull his hand away from his face. And the gun went off at that point and shot him in the face. And I sorry.
What happened then after you think
And I grabbed the gun, and the gun went off again. I don't know if that hit him or it didn't hit him. I don't know what happened, but that one shot he was bleeding. He was bleeding from that shot to his face.
What were you thinking at that point?
I was thinking he was trying to kill himself, and I'm in shock because he's bleeding, and he's not even really, he's just yelling now, and he's mad, and he said he's going to walk to the hospital.
What did you do with the gun?
I dropped the gun right there. I told him, I'll take you to the hospital. I said, you can't walk to the hospital. I'm going to take you to the hospital. And I dropped the gun there, and he got in his side, and I buckled his seatbelt for him. And I went around, and I got in the car, and I turned around and started driving back the way we had come.
And like, what's going on through your body? What's going on through your mind?
I'm in shock. I'm trembling. I'm shaking. I'm freaking out, and this is not the way this was supposed to go. I was supposed to have dropped him off at Fred's at this point, and he's bleeding, and he's screaming, and he's bleeding he's spitting blood, and he's washing his hands out in the Mountain Dew cup, and he's rinsing his face out with the Mountain Dew with the soda.
And then, well, let me back up a little bit. If he thought he was trying to kill you and he had shot at you before, why are you trying to help him now?
I'm more thinking about him, and I thought, it was my fault that he was that upset. I knew he was going to get upset when I asked him to leave, so I was expecting something. I just didn't expect him to shoot at me. But, I mean, I had expected that he might try to kill himself, so
Did you feel responsible for
I
it?
felt completely it was my fault. It was absolutely my fault, and I'm taking him to the hospital, and that's all I'm thinking is he's bleeding, I'm taking him to the hospital.
So you're driving the car,
I'm driving the car so we're going back in the direction, getting back towards, I'm heading towards Wake Med North, which is on Falls and Noose. That's where I'm going to take him.
and do you take him to Wake Med North?
No, first he wanted me to take him home. He said, this is just a scratch. He said, just take me home. I said, Jose, you're bleeding all over the place. I said, I'm taking you to the hospital. And he said, well, I don't want to go to Wake Med. They're going to charge me. He said, you take me to the VA. So instead of going straight and going home, I made the right, which was 98, which would bring us to Durham.
Why didn't you just call 911?
I didn't have my phone. My phone was home charging.
And your phone was charging from when you had gotten back to the house from South Carolina?
Yeah.
And why did you left your phone at home to charge?
Because the charger in the car hadn't been working, so by the time I got home, my phone was dead.
Do you know if Jose had his phone at that point?
I asked him for his phone. He said he didn't have his phone.
So you said you're going, do you know where the VA is located?
Yeah, I've been to the VA with him several times.
Okay. And do you take 98 to get to the VA?
Yes.
And why didn't you just pull over into a gas station or a fire department or police department or flag down an officer or anything like that?
He wanted to go to the VA hospital, so I was taking him to the VA.
And did you guys ever make it to the VA?
No, he started, at this point, he's yelling at me in Spanish and English now, and he's cursing and he's angry, and he starts clutching his chest again, saying, I'm going to have a heart attack, you need to pull over, I can't do this. And he said he's going to throw up, and so I pulled over, and by this point, I pulled over on that street that I think is Bay Leaf.
Your Honor, I've marked defense exhibits 9A, 9B, and 9C, if I may approach. Been marked as defense exhibit 9A, 9B, and 9C. What are those?
Oh, sorry. These are maps.
Okay.
Oh, you want me to tell you specifically which?
What are specifically marked on those maps?
9A has our house, which is in Wakefield. It has the Sheetz gas station marked. It has the Family Dollar marked. It's got a green dot that says possible first event. And then it has Old Bailey Road, that's 9A.
Okay. And what's on 9B?
9B shows Old Bayleaf Road, and it shows 98 going to the Durham VA Medical Center.
Okay. And what's on 9C?
9C is Old Bayleaf to the Durham VA again. It shows the two different routes that we traveled.
Right. And does that fairly and accurately represent the locations that you were just talking about in your testimony?
Yes.
All right. Your Honor, I asked to admit defense exhibits 9A, 9B, and 9C.
No objection.
Motion left.
And Your Honor, if I may briefly publish these on the big screen, I'm set up already here.
Yes, sir.
Just to give some clarity. And Ms. Madonna, if I may approach the other witness, Your Honor, I have a laser pointer here for Ms. Madonna.
Deontay, I just pressed the button.
south here in this area?
Yes,
But you're saying you are somewhere in this area, you just don't know where
Right.
you guys first stopped.
right.
And was it in your intention at that point in time to just drive in the country and talk?
Yeah, it's not really country. I mean, it's not really country. It's not like isolated. There's like a car dealership or something there, a mechanic's shop, and it's not completely isolated. But yeah,
And then you said, and Jose told you to take you to the VA hospital.
right.
And do you see the VA hospital currently on this map?
I believe the VA is right there.
Okay. And is that in Durham?
Yes,
And had you taken Jose to the VA hospital before?
yes, I had.
And is this typically a route that you would take from your home even to the VA hospital? I know it starts at Old Bayleaf, but is that a route that you would take?
Yeah, because the other choice is to go 540, but then you go south to get to 540, and we prefer to do like the back roads.
And when you said Jose was clutching his chest again and acting as if he was having another heart attack.
Right.
And is this the road that we've been talking about, Old Bayleaf Road here?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you can see on this map here what we've been talking about for the past week and a half, where it kind of, you take a left in and then it takes a left immediately.
Right.
And I believe one of the first witnesses were talking about how many different times it's named Old Bayleaf Road. You see Old Bayleaf Road on both angles here.
Yes.
Had you ever been down this road before in your life?
Never.
And does this dot here fairly and accurately represent where you stopped your car that second time?
Yes.
Could you still see Old Durham Road from where you stopped your car?
Yes.
And had you ever gone past the part where Old Bayleaf Road juts out to the left?
No, I didn't.
Thank you. We're done with the map, Your Honor. So you take your left onto Old Bayleaf Road, and what happens then?
I pulled over onto the side of the road.
Okay. What happened at that point in time?
Jose got out again. I got out on my side. He got out on his side. And this time I'm coming around the side, coming around the back again, and he came at me, and I thought that he punched me, but it might have been that he elbowed me, but whatever he did, he knocked me in the chest, and I fell back, and I hit the ground on my back.
What happened then?
He got on top of me. He basically like jumped right on top of me and was holding me down. And I'm not even really accepting what's happening at this point. And I looked at my arm, and my arm was bleeding. And he's on top of me, and he's got his arm crushed up against my chest over here. And at this point, I can't breathe, and I feel like I'm drowning. And I feel like I'm drowning because he's right on top of me, and he's got me compressed, and he's got his arm pressed up against me.
What did you do at that point?
I'm struggling, and I'm trying to get out from under him, and I'm trying to breathe, and I can't breathe, and I don't know how many minutes or how long I was under him like that. And so I'm fading, and I'm feeling like I'm going to die at this point because I can't breathe. And everything's getting light in my head, and I'm feeling dizzy. And then I heard him say he's going for Michelle.
Did you think you were going to die at that point?
Absolutely.
And do you remember whether it was his right hand or his left hand, or do you
I
know?
don't remember if it was his right hand or his left hand.
Did you ever see that knife in his hand?
I didn't see the knife in his hand.
But you just saw a scratch on your arm and knew that you were bleeding?
Yep, I was bleeding.
And did you think he was going to choke you to death?
Yes, I thought I was going to be choked to death right there. I thought I was dying.
So what did you do?
When I heard him say he was going for Michelle, I looked over. I was able to move my head out, and I saw the knife on the ground over on the left side. And I grabbed the knife, and I started swinging at him.
Do you know if you picked up the knife with your left hand or your right hand?
I don't know if it was my left hand or my right hand. I don't remember.
Did you specifically aim for anything, or
No,
what did
I
you-
just started swinging at him. And I kept swinging at him until I felt like he wasn't holding me down anymore.
Did you think you had to kill him in order to stop your own death?
Yes, I did.
Do you have any recollection of how you swung the knife or how many times you swung the
Nope,
knife?
I don't know how many times I swung. I don't know where I swung first. I just kept swinging until I felt like he wasn't pressing me down anymore. And at that point, I got out from underneath him.
Then what did you do?
I got out from under him and I started running to the car. And I looked out of the corner of my eye and it looked like he was going to get up. And I thought he was going to run after me, so I grabbed his shoes and I took his shoes off so that he wouldn't be able to run after me. And I threw his shoes in the woods, and I threw the knife right there in the woods so that he couldn't get the knife and come after me.
What did you do from there?
I got in the car and I started driving home, and I was telling myself, he's going to go to Fred's, he's getting up, he's going to go to Fred's.
Now, you've seen the wounds that Mr. Perez sustained.
Yes, I did.
And is your testimony to the jury that you thought he still might be getting up?
Yes, I did. I told myself, he's getting up, he's going to Fred's. I didn't realize at that point how many times I had stabbed him.
And then that's what you told yourself, that he was going to
I
get
told
up?
myself he was going to get up and go to Fred's.
Were you hopeful that he was going to get up and go to Fred's?
Yes, I was.
What did you do when you got home?
I got home and I needed to see Michelle because that was the last thing that he was saying. He was going for Michelle, and I needed to see Michelle. So I went in the bedroom and I grabbed my phone and I started calling Michelle, and I came out and that's when I saw Rachel.
And when you're calling Michelle, why isn't the first call that you make to 911?
I thought Jose was going to get up and go to his sponsors.
When you're calling Michelle, what are you telling her?
I told her she needs to come home. I need to see her. I need you to come home. And then I went in the garage, and there was blood on the dashboard. And I started cleaning the blood off the dashboard.
And you said you had seen Rachel before then, correct?
Yeah, I saw Rachel in the kitchen.
And what did Rachel say to you?
Rachel asked me what happened. I told her Jose and I had a fight, but that he was going to Fred's house. He was going to go to Florida. Everything's fine. She said, you're bleeding. You need to call the cops. And I said, no, everything's going to be fine. You don't need to call the cops. Everything's going to be fine.
With Rachel, did that conversation continue any, or what did she do?
I don't remember. I don't remember if it continued or not.
And again, why didn't you call the cops at that point after your daughter told you you needed to call the cops?
I was telling myself over and over, he's going to Fred's.
What did you do from there?
I started cleaning the blood off the dashboard. And there was some blood on the front seat where he was, on the passenger side. And Michelle had called me back, and I asked her to get seat covers for that seat.
Why did you get your daughter Michelle involved in this at this point?
Because she was on the way home, and yeah.
I mean, you have any other?
I have no other, I was not, yeah, at that point, I'm not thinking right. I'm pretty scrambled at this point.
And what did you do for the rest of that night?
Michelle came home a little while later. I had started calling everybody, telling them Jose left, Jose's going to Florida. Everybody who had known during the day that I was asking him to leave, I told them that he was leaving. He had left. He was at his sponsor's house. And Michelle came in, and she asked me, what happened? What are you doing? And she saw me cleaning the blood out of the car. And at this point, I was exhausted, and I wanted to go inside, you know, and I said, can you help me finish this? And she said, I can't do that. I can't go near that. So I said, that's fine. And she started asking me a lot of questions, question after question after question. And I didn't want to answer any questions, and I just started throwing out answers and misleading, you know, just giving her random answers. She just kept asking me the same questions over and over again, and I couldn't answer. I couldn't deal with it. And so she left, and I went back in my bedroom and took a shower.
If you have both of your daughters telling you this and telling you need to call someone, again, why didn't you do it?
He was going to be all right. He was going to go to Fred's.
And if, what did you start, we've seen a lot of stuff get thrown away. Did you start throwing away the stuff?
I tried to sleep. I'm not sure that I actually slept, but I tried to sleep. I was concerned. He had been so angry. I thought he was coming to the house, you know, and so I was up tossing and turning, and I finally got up at like 5 or something in the morning, and I started bagging up his stuff, and I figured Fred was going to come by at some point later, so I put all the stuff in the plastic bags for him. And then I think that's that point where I got on the computer and was looking up mass times and stuff.
And you said you bagged it up for him, but you threw the things away, correct?
Yeah, I ended up throwing it away. As the day went on, I started getting angry because I just kept saying, he just tried to kill me. And I couldn't believe it because that was Jose, you know, that was Jose, that was my husband, that was Jose, you know. So I got angry during the day, and I threw the bags in the garbage instead of giving them to his sponsor.
And did you get rid of his other personal effects as well?
I started throwing everything out. I started getting his clothes together. I was going to throw everything out, and I was looking in the garage. I was going to start throwing everything out in the garage.
And why? Why were you going to go throw everything out?
I was done. We were done. And I think it was at that point I asked Dave to come change the locks on the door because I knew, you know, I
And
didn't
you
want...
say you started sending we've seen your text messages.
Yeah. I started texting everybody, letting everybody know that he was gone.
Okay. And with Dave, what did you text him?
I told Dave that Jose had gone to Florida and I needed him to change the locks and put a chain on the inside of the door.
And Dave is the same buddy that you had talked to about, you know, problems or issues with Jose before, correct? And are you, what else are you looking up on the computer at that point?
I looked up the cheesecake recipe for my dad. I looked up a restraining order because I knew that if I had a restraining order, if he came back to the house, that I would be protected because I had the restraining order. I looked up the hours for the dump so I could get rid of the stuff that he had, like his tools and all that, the big stuff during the week.
And did you?
And I think I looked up the separation agreements too, the laws for separation agreements in North Carolina.
And do you remember ever finding Jose's phone?
I had seen Jose's phone in the car the night before. It was in the pocket of the car.
And did you text people from Jose's phone?
I texted people from Jose's phone, yep.
Why would you do that?
The only thing I was thinking at the time was that I didn't want anybody to worry about him. So I wanted to let people know he was going to Florida.
But you guys had this fight, and it was a bad fight. You didn't think they would want to know or need to know about that at that point in time?
Yeah, I was not thinking clearly.
And what did you do the rest of the day?
The rest of the day, I had went to mass in the morning, and then I went to a meeting, and Isabel came home at 2 o'clock, so I took Isabel to the pool, and I just went on with the rest of the day, and then I went out that evening.
And you basically just had a regular or any other day that day?
I just kept telling myself, Jose's going to be at Fred's. We're going to get a call from Fred. Jose's going to be at Fred's. Oh my God, he tried to kill me. I got to get a restraining order. So my head was just swimming. So I was trying to have a regular day, but at the same time, this was all going through my head all day long.
And you did say that you had a meeting. So did you have an AA meeting that day?
Yep, went to the AA meeting in the morning.
And then you met with Chad.
I met with Chad later on, yep, about 7:30, 7 o'clock, 7:30.
Why did you meet with Chad that day?
Well, I mean, I'd like to say Chad was the one person that knew everything about what had been going on with me and Jose. But I went over to Chad's.
Do you understand how that looks at this
Absolutely.
point? How does it look?
It looks like I was cheating on Jose.
And you were cheating on Jose, correct?
Yes.
Did you kill Jose Perez the day before so you could start a relationship with Chad?
No.
And since that day when Jose passed away, have you started a relationship with Chad?
No.
When you were at Chad's house, did you tell him what had happened that night?
I didn't tell him. I mean, I told him the whole thing about Florida. I told him the same thing that I've been telling myself and telling everybody else. So I didn't tell him. I couldn't tell anybody.
And when you knew the police were at the house, did you come home immediately?
I did. I left immediately.
And when you knew the police were at the house, did you know what they were there for?
I had started to suspect at that point that he hadn't gone to Fred's.
And you're saying that you don't remember how many times you stabbed him or where you stabbed him?
Nope.
When you had to stab your husband, did it feel like a blackout?
Yeah, I was completely just in like a frenzy adrenaline thing.
And was that brought about by you thinking you were going to die yourself?
Yep.
When the police were there, and the police are finally there, you didn't tell them what happened and that Jose had tried to shoot you and then Jose had tried to strangle you and tell them that you had to defend yourself?
Nope.
Why not?
I was still going with Florida until I heard otherwise. That's what I was going to go with.
Donna, after all this, have you gained anything whatsoever from the death of Jose Perez, your husband?
Nothing.
Has any member of your family ever gained anything whatsoever from the death of your husband, Jose Perez?
Nothing.
And have y'all received any kind of benefits from the death of your husband?
No, we haven't.
Did you think that you would?
No.
Do you know about anything that Jose owns in an estate that would come to you?
No, he didn't own anything.
Were you ever able to confirm that Jose was ever an assistant district attorney?
No. I found out about October, about 4 months after this happened, that there was no record of him ever having had that profession.
And through all this, has the death of Jose Perez made your life any better?
No.
What have you lost because of this?
Just being separated from my kids has been, I mean, there's no way of describing how that has shattered everybody's lives. The girls haven't been able to have any stability since this happened, and y'all know that my father was moved out to Vegas, and then he died after that. So my family's life has been completely shattered.
If Jose had just left and went to Florida or just went somewhere else on his own accord, would you be able to keep the lifestyle that you had?
Oh, yeah.
And how would you do that?
I mean, I knew we had to downsize a little bit, and I was looking for a 3-bedroom house for me and Papa and Isabel. I mean, I was ready to do that. You know, I was looking forward to my little full-time job that I was getting with, you know, the lady that I had been working with for a little while. So, I mean, it was going to be a struggle, but like I had said, you know, I'd rather be alone and be a functional mom than to be in a marriage where I couldn't trust my spouse.
And I guess because of that, still at this point, and do you ever anticipate gaining anything from Jose Perez's death?
No, there's nothing that's going to ever come from that. Not for us, not for anybody.
And you thought on your idea on June the 15th of 2013 was to ask him to leave.
Yep, I was going to ask him for a divorce. He was going to go to Florida. He was going to reestablish himself back down there. You know, he had worked at the VA down there, so to me it was going to be very easy for him to go right back into his life down in Florida. And that's what I thought was going to happen.
And you didn't think anything like this was going to happen?
No.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
You want to start?
Okay,
Okay. Witness with state.
thank you. Ms. Madonna, you said that you never expected to gain anything from this, and you never have.
Say again, I'm sorry.
You never expected to gain anything from the death of Jose Perez, and you never have.
No, there's nothing that could have been gained from his death.
So you wrote a letter to Chuck Pritchard on the 9th of November 2014, didn't you, saying, here's the copy I received. You can go on socialsecurity.gov to see how much she, referring to Isabel, should be getting. He was considered 100% disabled. I figured the benefit started September 2010, a year after the date of that horrible traumatic marriage. May God forgive me again for not clearly seeking his will, ... So as of the date he died, it was 29 months, but if she's still supposed to get a continuing survival benefit, well, I just don't know how to calculate that. God is so good to us because we have clean hearts. We don't cheat, lie, or steal.
That's a survivor benefit that Isabel would be entitled to.
That she got because of Jose's death.
If she was going to get that, yeah, that is a survivor benefit.
So you did gain something.
We haven't gained anything. I'm not even sure if that's going to be something she's going to be eligible to have since she's living with Chuck and he's her biological father. I'm not sure that's anything she's going to be able to get.
You wrote to your daughter Michelle on the 9th of November 2013 and told her, I'm not trying to control what you do. I just know it would probably benefit all of us if you were there, talking about the Schoolhouse Street house. Remember, your January check will only be half of December, and then you might need to do papers, etc., for the next semester. Did you call Champ VA for the insurance? It will only be good through college. And how about the $4,400 month of death benefit from Jose, if that was even his real name? The office to apply for the benefit, I think, is on Sunnybrook, but if you Google VA survivor benefit, month of death benefit, you should see one come up. Also, Social Security might also owe you guys for that month, although I don't remember reading about that.
Yeah, that's just all survivor benefits. I'm not sure how any of that works, especially since he died of not natural causes.
And you also wrote letters to a number of other people, didn't you?
I've written a lot of letters in the past 2.5 years.
And some of those were to friends and to your daughters. Others were to domestic violence businesses or publishing houses, and some were to clergy. Is that correct?
Yes.
You also wrote a bunch of letters to Paul Collins. Who's Paul Collins?
Paul's a friend of mine from the band.
And how good a friend is he?
He was a friend just like any other friend. He was a friend from the band.
Now, you told us earlier that, what was the date that you said after which you never had anything more? January 21st, 1992, no marijuana, no alcohol, no cocaine?
Right.
And that you, even when you were in the hospital and you had health problems in the hospital, you refused to take any kind of drugs, any narcotics, is that right?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 71 is a printout of CHAMP VA benefits. The patient listed there is Joanna Madonna, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That would be you.
Yep.
And what's the first drug that's listed on there for you?
That's hydrocodone that I was prescribed for a herniated disc in my back on 6/10/13.
And hydrocodone is a narcotic, isn't it?
Yep, and I filled the prescription, but I didn't ever take it.
Cost you money.
I'm sorry?
It cost you money to fill it, didn't it?
I don't remember what the copay was on the prescription.
There was a copay, wasn't there?
Yes?
And you filled a prescription you had no intention of taking?
Yeah, I have filled the prescription.
And you said that once you realized that you were pregnant with Rachel, that you never once thought about getting rid of that pregnancy.
I did not think of getting rid of Rachel.
You didn't have a problem terminating 2 other pregnancies, though, did you?
Objection, Your Honor.
Oh,
I had, while I was a single mom, I had found myself, I had gotten pregnant on 2 separate occasions while I was a single mom. On both occasions, I had been taking medication for my back and had had a series of x-rays. And I knew that because of the x-rays, that was going to be a really bad thing. So the fact that I had 2 abortions in my life in a period of 8 years when I was a single mom and trying to take care of my kids, I'm not proud of that, but that is something that did happen in my life.
So while
And I
you were-
didn't drink over it, praise God.
While you were teaching in New York, you were drinking and drugging, you were smoking, as you referred to it. You were talking about smoking marijuana, right?
Yes, I was.
And you were drinking,
I was.
and you were freebasing cocaine.
Yes,
Any
for
other
3
drugs
months.
you were using? You mentioned acid earlier.
That's pretty much it.
So acid too.
A couple of times, yes, I did acid.
Any other drugs?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Likely you did. Wouldn't that be fair?
I'm not sure there was a whole lot of other things that were available at that point.
Speed?
I never did speed. I didn't do pills.
So you're an alcoholic,
I'm a recovering alcoholic and a recovering addict.
and so whether you're doing drugs or whether you're drinking alcohol, it doesn't make any difference. You're still an alcoholic.
I'm a recovering alcoholic.
And the 12-step meetings that you eventually decided that would benefit you, the 12-step is that's AA, right?
Yeah, the 12 steps are for a variety of different things. AA is definitely one of them.
And even though you decided that you had hit bottom and you needed to go to AA and fix yourself, you didn't follow the AA rules, did you either?
You'd have to be a little more specific on which rules you're
Well, you
saying
weren't
it
supposed to
involved.
be dating anybody, were you?
When?
when you started
Oh,
to
there's
date
no
John
real,
Lopez?
there's suggestions in AA.
So you didn't earlier testify that you did not follow the AA rules because you started dating John Lopez immediately?
Well, I just want to reiterate that there are suggestions, and that was one of the suggestions I didn't take.
So you didn't follow the suggestions of the program that was designed to try to help you?
I did not follow all the suggestions.
And your relationship with Mr. Lopez developed, as you put it,
Yes, it did.
and he was drinking.
He was, I did not know that at the time.
You weren't aware that he was drinking?
No, I was not aware that, he wasn't really drinking, he was doing heroin more, so that's a lot more difficult to detect than alcohol.
Well, you became at least aware that he was doing heroin because he went to rehab at least twice, didn't he?
That's right.
And despite the fact that you knew he was doing heroin, he was not, that he was relapsing periodically, you married him and had him move into the house with your father.
Yep, I believed that he would be able to get clean. Since I was able to stay clean, I believe that anybody is able to get clean.
And the terrible relationship that you had with your dad because he was a heavy drinker when you were a kid, when you were going to tell your father that you were pregnant with your first child, you told your dad to sit down and pour himself a shot.
I did.
Now, you have said that you would rather be alone than in a chaotic relationship. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when we talk about your relationship with Jose more recently, you told us, in fact, the very first thing you told us when you got on the witness stand is that you loved Jose.
I still love Jose.
And you acted in front of your girls as if you loved Jose.
Jose and I had a loving relationship.
And while you and Jose were having this loving relationship, you were telling your friend Bonnie things like you married him for the VA benefits, didn't you?
I don't remember saying that. I had benefits when I married Jose. I already had benefits. There were no VA benefits that I was aware of.
Did you write to your friend Bonnie Henry on July 3rd, 2013, and tell her in that letter, so he told me that we should get married so that I could take care of him for the last few months and I would be able to get the benefits.
I don't remember.
Reality, he wasn't dying. Do you remember writing that?
We had probably talked about, especially the educational benefits for the girls.
Did you write that you married him for the benefits?
If that's what I wrote there, then that's what I wrote. But by the time we got married, I knew he was not dying. I knew that.
And you called, you said that you were having this loving relationship with Jose, but behind his back you were calling him Fidel, weren't you? As in Fidel Castro.
Yes, I did call him Fidel.
And you called him Fidel in front of Bonnie and Danica and all your other friends, didn't you?
I called him Fidel in front of his face. He knew that I called him Fidel.
And you told your friend Danica that the marriage to Jose was a marriage of convenience.
Sometimes it felt like a marriage of convenience.
That's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our evening recess at this point. During our evening recess period, it is your duty not to talk among yourselves about this case. It's your duty not to talk to the parties, the witnesses, the lawyers about anything at all. It's your further duty not to talk to anyone else, to allow anyone else to talk with you or to say anything in your presence about this case. If any kind of information about this trial comes to your notice at all from any source, you need to let the sheriff know about that. Don't do any individual research or investigation on your own about any issue touching on this trial. Avoid reading, watching, listening to accounts of this trial if there are any. And do not form or express any opinion about this case during this time. For your planning purposes, so that you will know when we conclude tomorrow, we will come back on Monday. We won't be here on Friday. With that, ladies and gentlemen, while everyone else in court remains seated, I'm going to excuse the 13 of you and ask that you return and assemble in the jury room tomorrow morning at 9:30. If that you are excused. The record should reflect the jury's absence from the court. Anything the record for the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything the record for the defendant?
No, Your Honor.
The sheriff, you can recess us tomorrow morning at 9:30.